Hello, welcome back. So far you have learned XPath and how to create an XPath, and essentially we learn how to make a generic way to create an XPath. Okay, so here in this video we'll learn one more trick. Okay, in this HTML page, okay, which is example 5.html, and this page will be available in our website. So what I want to do is take this example 5.html and try to find out a XPath that will identify this element and that will identify this button. Let's take a look how we will do that. Okay, so this is that example 5.html. Okay, so in example 5.html my goal is to locate this element and this element. Okay, so let's first try to locate the submit button. So the first step, let's do inspect element using Firebug. Second step, let's copy this HTML and bring this HTML to the and then bring that HTML to this notepad. Okay, so our HTML is looking like something like this. Okay, so this is how my HTML is going to look like. Okay, so what is my element name? My element name is input. Okay, so my element name is input, so therefore I do 2/, then I do input, then what I do, I create this bracket, then I choose any identifiers. Okay, so basically this is one attribute, this is another attribute, this is another attribute, this is another attribute, and so on. I can choose any attribute. So let's choose this attribute, which is id submit is equal submit underscore 1032. So if I want to write using this string, then what I'll do, I will do iterate. And what is attribute name? The attribute name is id. Then what is attribute value? The attribute value is submit underscore 1032. Okay, so let's try to do so this is probably, this XPath is going to help us. Okay, so let's open our IDE and I want to do XPath is equal to, so XPath equals / input. Okay, and then I give a bracket, end a bracket, and inside that what is I want to give iterate ID equals submit 1034, submit underscore 1032. Okay, and I need to do a code. Okay, that's what they require in XPath. I'll put a code, and then let's try to find. Yes, I'm finding this thing, no problem. Okay, so let's, what I do, I just want to refresh this thing. Okay, so after refreshing this thing, let's try to find. So it looks like it's not able to find anymore. So what happened? So let's check, like, so it's supposed to find this thing, right? And then go back and then do inspect element with Firebug. So it looks like the submit 1032 has been changed to submit underscore 160. Okay, so this happens in dynamic web pages where your ID value might change. What should you do so that it will always recognize? And that is where your XPath function comes into play. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this thing in different way, and that thing is / input. Then I'm going to use a function here, and that function is called starts with. What the function will take two parameter. One parameter is the attribute name, which is iterate ID. Then the other parameter in a code is just give the submit. That means it does not care what is this value 1032. If tomorrow this is 1000, this is going to work because we are matching if the ID contains submit. See, like, you can always argue that we can have done something like ID is equal to submit underscore 1032, but using ID is equal to submit 1032, you cannot handle this kind of scenario. Even if there's an ID available, you cannot handle this kind of scenario, because the moment you refresh the page, something else is going to come. So that is where you have to use XPath, and XPath does have this kind of functions. Okay, that will help you. Okay, so let's now try to see if this thing works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a function here, and that function is starts hyphen with. Then I will do this thing, and I don't really need an equal here. I will put I put a comma there, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this thing. I don't need 1032. Okay, with this, let's see if it's working. Okay, so basically the mistake that I did, I didn't give a bracket here, so it's very careful. Submit. So with this, again, it started to work. So if you put, see, you are able to recognize this thing. Now let's do the same thing for the next element. I also want to locate this element as well. Let's take a look. What is the inspect with element with Firebug? Let's say I do copy HTML. So this is the HTML that I'm getting, and what happened here is a little bit different. Here, instead of in the previous case, we are having some kind of field like submit underscore some dynamic value, but here some dynamic value underscore some static value. So what we do, we can do the same thing with another function called contents. Okay, so therefore let's try to rewrite this XPath. So we have / because this the element is input, so therefore input. Then we start two brackets. Then first bracket will be, then we use this function called contents. Okay, contents. Then what we do, iterate. What we have ID 7834. So iterate ID comma count. Okay, that's all. So if you do this thing, then this is again going to, even if you refresh this thing, whatever number you are going to get, but still, okay, so this will find that location. Okay, so let's do this. So basically I want to do one more thing. So I have to delete. I want to use contents, right? Contents. Then what I'm going to do, ID count. Okay, that's all you need to change. So look at this, you can able to get that thing. Okay, so this is how you're going to handle the dynamic value. So look, like if you are overly dependent on tools like FirePath, then this is again is going to fail you. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking at the FirePath is suggesting me that ID 783 count. This is wrong, because if I use this thing, it's going to fail because this is dynamic. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That is the reason, like it's not always you have to use the FirePath, but you can use the FirePath tool and then see, like if this thing is really working fine or not. Okay, and this is why I want to explain you this dynamic content in this video.